Are uranium stocks on a launch pad? And if so, what's the best way to cash in on this opportunity? That's what this video today is all about. So in this video, we're going to look at the uranium ETF. I'll tell you what I'm seeing from both a monthly and weekly perspective. I'll also share a few of my top picks within the uranium space. So I'll share a few of my favorite uranium stocks to own right now. But before we get into the good stuff, I want to welcome you in case you're new to the channel. So my name is Justin Spitler. I'm a professional trader. I trade my own money. I also have a trading group over at Risk Hedge, and I have a free e-letter that you can check out over there as well. So each Tuesday, I'll share one of my top trading ideas for the week. You can also find me on Twitter at jspittrades. So that's my name right here. It's the same as the YouTube channel. So if you found me over here, you should be able to find me on Twitter. And on Twitter, I regularly share charts, my market insights, just my general views on the market, and I'll also share the occasional meme or two. So go ahead and follow me over there if you haven't already. But now that we got all that stuff out of the way, I want to get into this opportunity, this big opportunity that I think is setting up in uranium right now. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing we're going to look at is actually the spot uranium price. So I pulled this chart from Y Charts because I just wanted to give some perspective on what's happening within the uranium market right now. And you can see dating back to about mid-2018, you can see that the uranium price has edged higher, but it started to accelerate within recent months. So that's very bullish for, if you own uranium stocks. Obviously it can't hurt if the spot uranium price is heading higher. But the issue is with the spot uranium prices, there's not an easy way for most American everyday traders and investors to play the spot uranium price. But we can play the next best thing, which is uranium stocks. And uranium stocks, like most commodity stocks, are leveraged to the underlying commodity. So in this case, if you own uranium stocks, they can often do multiples of what the spot uranium price does when the current market conditions are right. And I think the market conditions are setting up for a very favorable environment to own uranium stocks. So the reason I say that is because of what I'm seeing not only in URA, but in some individual uranium stocks as well. But we're going to start with URA. So the first thing I want to point out is just what happened to uranium during the past decade. So basically from late 2010 to March of 2020, so right around when the COVID crash happened, uranium stocks essentially went straight down. They were in free fall, which was unusual during that time because so many other stocks and other industries and sectors were doing quite well. So uranium stocks were an outlier for all the wrong reasons during that time. But the good news is that we've seen a major change in character type move for uranium stocks lately. So you can see this note I have here. So from March 2020, the COVID crash, to November 2021, URA rallied 355%, which is just a tremendous move. You got to keep in mind, we're not talking about a single stock here. We're talking about an entire industry group. And for an entire industry group to have that kind of move off its lows in such a short period of time is really outstanding. But it's not just that initial move up that caught my attention. It's honestly how well uranium stocks have digested and consolidated since making that move up. So you can see what I mean here. So after that initial thrust up, uranium stocks pulled back, which is something you would expect after a big move like that. But we didn't have this, we didn't have a big crash from here. So we had this initial pullback, but then we started to build out this bottoming structure. So we started to build out this base, and after bottoming, really, last summer, uranium stocks have done quite well, and they've just been chopping around in here and building out this base. But what really has my attention here is that we're starting this wedge pattern that we're forming. It's starting to get really, really tight. But not only are we getting tight, and that tightness often precedes big moves, and the big moves can be in either direction. But in this case, we're getting tight and we're starting to bump up against the downtrend line at the upper bound of this formation. So to me, when I look at this chart, it tells me that uranium stocks are likely due for a big breakout and could begin their next major leg up. And we can saw what happened during that initial leg up. So, a lot to be excited about if you're bullish on uranium stocks like I am and you own uranium stocks like I do. So URA is looking excellent from the monthly. But when we zoom in and we look at the weekly for URA, I'm also really liking what I'm seeing here. So you can see this is the same chart that I showed on the previous slide. All we've done is zoom in, but you could see a few things a little bit more clearly here. So when you look at the weekly, you can make an argument, in my opinion, that we've already broken out on the weekly time frame. So you can see we had this initial thrust out. We broke that downtrend line that had been in place since late 2021. Then we had a pullback. We pulled back into this green line. This green line is a 30-week moving average, and we pulled back into that level. Buyer stepped in, and since then we've held that level. We not only held that level, we've since reclaimed the rising 10-week moving average, and we're back, essentially back to the highs on our initial breakout. We've had the past 3 weeks have been green. So URA is starting to look really, really good from just a price action perspective right now. So it looks great on the monthly. It looks great on the weekly. The other thing I want to point out, though, when we look at this chart here, is just the massive amount of accumulation that happened. So you can see we really had about 2.5 years of big, heavy volume that was trading on URA. And some of that move came during the initial thrust up, which is what you want to see. But during the pullback, we also saw a lot of strong volume and sustained buying volume throughout that time. So to me, everything I'm seeing on the chart right now suggests institutional accumulation, and institutions are what most people consider the smart money. So the fact that they're buying up URA, they're buying up uranium stocks after that initial move up, and they had the pullback, and they kept buying throughout that period, to me suggests that institutions are bullish on uranium stocks going forward. And it was such a long accumulation period that I think the next run up in uranium stocks could both be very very exciting in terms of just price appreciation, but also duration. I think we could have a long powerful sustained rally for uranium stocks when we do really break out of this with some good momentum. So that's something I'm definitely mindful of and watching out for when I look at uranium stocks. But for uranium to do well, one thing we really, really want to see is we want to see some leadership emerge, and we do have that. And in this case, the leader that has emerged is actually the biggest uranium stock that trades on U.S. markets, and that's Cameco. This is the largest publicly traded uranium stock. Cameco, I think, has a market cap of about $15 billion. And so it's exciting to me that it is the name leading. I say it's leading because on the previous chart, we showed that URA was just starting to break out on the weekly, but Cameco had broken out several weeks ago, actually a few months ago. And then when it broke out, it had that initial pullback, buyer stepped in, and it's just kept climbing out of breaking out. So to me, that's really exciting that we have a leader that's emerged. And the leader that has emerged is the biggest player. It's the biggest enchilada within the uranium space. So to me, that's really exciting. And part of the reason I think Cameco could be leading right now is because if institutions want to make a bet on uranium, Cameco is the best way to do it because it's the most proven company, it's the largest company, and it's the most liquid company. So it's a name that they can position in and sleep well at night, knowing that they're in the strongest, most proven uranium stock. So I'm really encouraged by the relative strength that I'm seeing from Cameco. So it's nice that we have a leader, and it just happens to be the largest uranium stock. And here in this chart, it just basically more clearly points out what I've been stressing, and that's the fact that Cameco is the leader within the uranium space. So this is a ratio chart. It measures the performance of Cameco versus URA. So you can see that up here. And when this line's rising, it means Cameco is outperforming its peers. And you can see that this line's been steadily rising since 2018. So that's just really encouraging if you're a Cameco shareholder, because it just tells you you're in the strongest name or one of the strongest names within the uranium space. And this is a trend that is clearly moving up and to the right. It's not a trend that I would want to fight. So when I look at this chart, when I look at the previous chart we just looked at, the takeaway I have is that Cameco will likely be a leader within the uranium space for the foreseeable future. But it's not good enough. You're not going to rally. Industry is not going to rally too far or make too much progress if just one stock's doing well. But we're starting to see industry participation within the uranium space broaden out. The reason I say that is because when we got interested in uranium stocks a few months ago, I would run this scan to see how many uranium stocks were trading above their 200-day and 50-day moving average. So basically, I was looking for uranium stocks that were in strong uptrends already. And the name that kept popping up was Cameco. It was one out of 9 major uranium stocks that trades on U.S. exchanges that was popping up. It was the only one. But now when we run that same scan, we can see that 6 out of the 9 publicly traded uranium stocks are now in strong uptrends. So to me, this is very encouraging. It reflects, broadening participation within the group, and that's great news. Whether you want to go, move far out on the risk curve and place some, you speculate on some smaller uranium stocks. It's great news if you just own URA, and it's also great news if you own Cameco, because as mentioned, Cameco is not going to get that far on its own. It needs help from its peer group, and we're starting to get that right now. And one uranium stock in particular that started to look pretty good here is NexGen. So the reason I like NexGen is that you could see it broke its downtrend that began in about early 2022. So it broke that downtrend, and it's held that breakout. So you could see that it had the initial breakout, had a little pullback into that 30-week moving average. Buyers stepped in, and then it just got right back on track. And it's actually heading for its 5th straight green week in a row. So really constructive price action from NexGen Energy right now. And the other encouraging thing about what we're seeing from NexGen is this is the 2nd largest publicly traded uranium stock. So we don't just, at this point, we don't just have Cameco, which is the largest publicly traded uranium stock. We also have the 2nd biggest. So this is really encouraging, in my opinion. So I love to see that as a uranium bull. But I'm also seeing some other uranium stocks start to get in on the act, and this would be Denison Mines. So you can see here, this stock is quietly breaking out of its downtrend as well. It's not as strong as Cameco or NexGen, but it's still encouraging, in my opinion, that we're starting to see other uranium stocks really start to get on track and look poised for breakouts. So all in all, the broadening participation, the fact that we do have some clear identifiable leaders within uranium is really good. So it's just, there's really a lot to like about uranium stocks right now. One other thing that I want to mention before I wrap up this video that I found pretty interesting is, so I'm sure we've all heard of Sam Altman. He was the founder of ChatGPT, which is, just taking the world by storm. Everyone's excited about AI right now. But what's interesting is that Sam Altman last month, he announced that he's going to bring a company, Oklo, which is a fission nuclear energy startup, public, and it's going to go public via a SPAC, a special purpose acquisition vehicle that he owns. So the fact that Sam Altman is excited about nuclear energy is just another reason to be excited and bullish about the space. And the reason that Altman is just long-term bullish on uranium, the reason he's invested in uranium is because he not only thinks that the world needs abundant intelligence, which is all his reasoning for doing everything he's doing in artificial intelligence. He also thinks the world needs abundant energy, and he thinks nuclear energy can provide clean, dependable energy to billions of people, and that's just something that he thinks the world will need going forward. And I don't agree with Altman on everything, but I definitely agree with him on that one. So definitely exciting to see how, him get involved, and the fact that such a high profile tech founder, some person of such immense influence is getting excited about nuclear can I think really help change the narrative around nuclear going forward. So it's definitely something to be excited about. As far as a potential speculation, this would be a name to potentially watch. So this is the special purpose acquisition vehicle for Altman's nuclear fission play. And when I look at the chart right now, it looks like it could be forming, a bullish bull flag or a descending wedge pattern here. A little too early to get too excited about it, but I think this would be definitely a name to watch, because if this name starts to get momentum, It has the Altman connection, and I could definitely see this name running as a speculation. I still prefer, to invest in the Timecodes and NexGens of the world over this more speculative play right now. But I think just paying attention to how the SPAC performs in the near future could tell us a lot about just the overall sentiment and excitement that is potentially bubbling for uranium and nuclear power going forward. So anyways, that's it for today. I hope you found this presentation informative, and until next time.